All right, so now it is day 53. I haven't recorded a video in a couple weeks because this last module kicked my butt. That's not the only reason why my hair is super messy today, but the last module was about going through intermediate JavaScript and learning about control flow, as well as for and while loops and arrays. A really interesting lesson, and again, getting a little bit more in depth with JavaScript has its difficulties, I'm sure, but this last lesson was about basically summing all of those skills up in something called the Fibonacci challenge, where you would get your code to produce numbers, or an array, basically a sequence of those numbers, depending on how many you wanted to create. So my summary for this lesson was JavaScript is about order of operations. It's foundational to a functional and successful program, and that code is properly organized by making sure you've got the correct order. So this is the challenge, basically. Create a function called Fibonacci generator, where n is the number of items, and so you should be able to call the function and get a certain output with the number of those outputs, basically, in an array. So I thought, oh, this would be great, so I could just go ahead and use a spreadsheet to figure it out by kind of making I guess you could call it a little bit of a workflow diagram here with what I needed the code to look like based on how many numbers I wanted to put out. But I couldn't really get far with that with just the concatenate function in Google Sheets. So I went back here, and this was the solution I came up with, basically using some if and else statements to create an array. And this ended up working. Again, it took me like 2 weeks without really working that hard on it to come up with the solution here. This is the, I guess, part where I got really confused. And I thought maybe, oh, I was going to have to, add the last to the second to last, basically object in the array, and keep doing that over and over again. But it wasn't until today that I actually decided to start with count, because you can't just add the last and the second to last. You need to do that for every object previous in the array. So you have to start with the very first two, then you add those two, and that becomes the third object. Then you keep going on and on from there until you reach the number of that's called by the function. So this worked. This was the teacher Angela Yu solution, which is a lot more simple than mine. I had way too many if statements in there. Still worked, but it doesn't really follow the dry model of not putting code in that's going to be clean and that's going to be easy to read and organized. So try to go with this sort of model in the future. But it's finished. I got it done. Again, this has been kind of crazy, so I'm ready to get on to the next thing, which is going to be the document object model. And that's going to be about installing JavaScript into your actual website. So that's going to be next. It's only a 56-minute lesson, so it's a lot shorter. And then after document object model, they're going to teach us how to create a game. But it looks interesting, at least for the next week. So hopefully I'll post videos a little bit more regularly now. But yeah, day job's been crazy. Coding is crazy. It's all crazy. So talk to you soon.